Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to On Couch with TEMIB. If you are new here, I'm TEMIB, and this is a space for honest conversation about faith, growth, lifestyle, a little bit of fashion, and a real life story. A kind of conversation that we will have if you were sitting right here with me on this couch. And today, we'll be talking about something that is very personal to me faith. Yeah, you heard that correct. Yeah, we'll be talking about faith. And now, when I say faith, I don't want this episode to feel like I'm here to preach to you or I'm here to tell you that I have everything figured out. But honestly, I don't. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I still have a moment when I have questions. And I believe that's the part that what makes faith real. So now let's talk about it. Let me tell you what faith actually means to me because growing up, I think sometimes we hear the word faith so much that it's almost become the word we say without really stop it and think what it means. But for me, faith is believing in God even when I don't have all the answers. It's trusting Him even when I can't see the whole pictures. And sometimes that is easier said than done. When I look at my own journey as a believer, I will not say I've always had this perfect and unshakable faith. I have had seasons where I've been very close to God. I have had seasons where I've prayed consistently and I felt so connected. And I've also had a season when I questioned things. Season when I wondered, God, when is these things going to happen? Why am I still waiting? Why does this person's life seem to be moving quickly? Why I'm still here waiting? I think that's what a lot of people experience, but don't always want to talk about it. Especially as a believer, we are not allowed to admit that we are struggling. But I don't think having question means you don't have faith. Sometimes faith is choosing to stay even when you don't understand. And that's something I'm still learning. Hmm. What has faith taught me? One of the biggest things faith has taught me is that faith doesn't mean everything will always go the way you want. Because naturally, when we pray, we have this idea of what answer should look like. We pray for something and we already have the timeline in our head. God, this is what I want. This is when I want it. God does not always work according to our schedule. Sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is wait. Just wait. And learning to trust God beyond the answer is still what I'm still growing in. Because it's easy to say, I trust God when everything is going well. But what happens when the prayer has not been answered? What happens when you are waiting? What happens when you are disappointed? That's where faith becomes more than just a word. Faith during the wait. I think waiting is the one of the hardest parts of faith, especially in the generation we are constantly seeing everyone else's lives. Someone gets married, some start a business, some travels, someone gets the opportunity you've been praying for. Someone's life seems to be moving forward, and suddenly you are looking at your own life thinking, God, what about me? And social media can make that even harder because we are usually seeing people's highlight, not their entire story. So when we start comparing our own chapter 2 to somebody else's chapter 10, and I think that's something we have to be very careful about. Your journey with God is your journey. Someone else's timing doesn't mean you are behind. And someone else answered prayer doesn't mean your prayer wasn't heard. Sometimes you simply have to trust God in the middle of it. And honestly, I'm still learning how to do that too. Faith in everyday life. Another thing I have realized is that faith is not only some things we talk about on Sundays. Faith shows up in everyday life. It is in decision we make. It is in how we respond when things are not going how we plan. It is in the moments where we are scared, but still decide to take the next steps. It is in building something and not know exactly how it's going to turn out. It is in choosing to keep going when you don't have all the answers. For me, faith is also learning that I don't have to control everything. We want to know what's happening next month, next year, even 5 years from now. But sometimes God give you enough light for the next step, not the entire staircase. And maybe that's the point. Maybe faith is not about knowing everything. Maybe faith is about trusting the one who does. Hmm. Something I'm still learning about faith. Something I'm still learning about faith is that I don't need to understand everything God is doing in order to trust Him. But honestly, that's difficult because I like to understand things. I like having plan. I like knowing what is coming next. But there have been a moment where I've had to say, God, I don't understand this, but I still choose to trust you. And I think there's something powerful about that because faith is not saying, I know exactly what is going to happen. Faith is saying, I don't know what is going to happen, but I know who I'm trusting. That's where I'm trying to grow. So the person watching and you are currently in a season when your faith feels weak. Maybe you've been praying about something for a long time. Maybe you are disappointed. Maybe you have been waiting. Or maybe you have been simply been distant from Him. I just want to remind you of something. You don't have to pretend with God. You can come to Him honestly. You can come to Him tired. You can come to Him confused. And you can come disappointed. You can still choose to seek Him. You don't have to have a perfect words. You don't have to have everything figured out. Just start where you are. And maybe your prayer today is simply, God, help me to trust you again. So that's my little conversation about faith. I definitely don't have it all figured out, but I know that I'm learning and growing and I'm still choosing every day to trust God a little more. And I would love to know something from you. What is one thing you are trusting God with right now? You don't have to explain everything. Just leave it in the comments if you feel comfortable. Maybe somebody reading your comments needs to know. They are not the only one waiting, believing, or figuring it out. Thank you so much for sitting on this couch with me today. This has been On Couch with TEMIB. And remember, you don't need to see the whole road to take the next step. I will see you on the next episode. Bye, beautiful people.